A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COLE credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor, the award-winning Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
Hey, doing great. And don't forget, we are powered by the Offbeat Business Media Network. Thank you, OBBM, for all your support. It is, it's winter. In case you didn't.
It is winter in Texas. We are
fall. We went right to winter.
We talk about post-traumatic stress all the time, man. I'm feeling a little post-traumatic winter coming, man.
This weather is quite stressful.
Snow. A Badge of Honor is all about healing our heroes. We hear you all the time, and remember, you are never alone. But once again, we can only do so much. You have to take that first step and call and call out and reach out, and then we can take care of everything else after that. But the first tool in the toolbox has to go through you to reach out. Please know that you are never alone. Any battle you fight, you're going to fight with us. We're going to help you through it. So don't ever think you are alone at any given time. Man, I was just looking at the numbers, Sam, and it's pretty heartbreaking. We've had 122 this year, though we are down from last year about 10%, but we have had 122 suicides within the law enforcement family. Now, that's not including our firefighters, 911 dispatchers, or our paramedics, which encompass some more, but 122. And those are the ones that are reported. We have gone through a period where a lot of departments are not reporting their suicides. If they happen off duty, they're just something that they try to push off to the wayside. We've had 6 here in San Antonio. There were 10 last year in Chicago that nobody really spoke about until the news took control of it and started bringing it to light. So it's something that the departments are trying to hide, and because of, for whatever reason, for the stigma, they don't want the public to know the stress that many are under. I don't know for whatever reason, but we are bringing it up front and personal to those and to the members of the law enforcement community.
Yeah, we just got off a great workshop, our wellness and resiliency workshop here in the DFW area. And hey, as I always say, we've got about a million things going on at one time. You can log on to abadgeofhonor.com and click on the events tab, and it'll take you to our calendar. Those talking about the numbers and everything, we talked about that in our workshop, and the underreporting and what really is out there, and the emphasis being the departments have to bring wellness and resiliency like day one of the academy. These folks, these young people that are joining the law enforcement arena, first of all, thank you for raising your hand and doing that. They really need to know what it's going to encompass and what a career looks like. And, we are taking this right to, you mentioned Chicago and the news. And yes, there's big news out of Chicago about what is going on in their employee programs, or should I say what is not going on in their employee programs, which was first, I think the story broke last week. We had this in the works. We will be coming into Chicago on next Monday.
Yes.
Doing our workshop on Tuesday, in addition to walking the bridge with members of PD and some other folks out there. And then we've got another podcast out there on Wednesday, and then we make it home for Thanksgiving.
Then we get home for Thanksgiving.
But hey, you know, we've all been there where you know, we've missed Thanksgivings, we've missed holidays, and anything that we can do to help the men and women of Chicago, we are going to be there.
Well,
And
this is just so important, Sam. And when you bring up Garland, and we look at Garland PD on how they embrace the mental health community and how you could see the difference in officers once your command staff starts embracing that and caring about and opening up to its officers and saying, hey, you see a difference in the officers. We've done plenty of workshops where the command staff was not on board with mental health, and you could see it in the officers. They're shut down, they're closed up, they don't want to say anything, they're scared. But you know, they want to say something, but they can't. And that's totally different feel in Garland. In Garland, we had so many vulnerable officers that just opening up and sharing their experiences. And I thought it was just enlightening and inspirational. So kudos really goes out to Garland, Texas Police Department for how they handle their mental health programs.
Absolutely. And you know what, John, this is a perfect segue, because when you're in a situation that you just mentioned, it's all about learning how to build your resiliency toolbox. That's what we do in our workshops. Right. And through that, it's about performance and putting together a strategy or a number of tactics that fit you in order to perform at your best. And tonight we have a guest who is all about helping you build that toolbox full of skills to perform at your best. He is a veteran, and again, like I said, a performance coach. He runs a very cool program. PGI consultant Michael Chavez, or I should say Savage. Welcome to the show. He's a good friend.
Welcome, Michael.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
We're doing good.
We are doing fantastic. It is great to have you on, because performance is key, especially like what John just said, especially when you may not have support. You have to create it. And so first, let's start with your service to our country. Thank you very much. Just tell us a little bit about how you went from that into being a consultant.
That's a long story, but I joined the military, of course, in '83. My grandfather was a World War II veteran, so he kind of gave that inspiration. Spent 20 years in the Navy, traveling around the world, seeing things and doing things I never would have imagined. I was an electrician in the Navy, but I found that I was really good with people. And I always looked for the people who are on the outside, the ones who are alienated. And I found that those were the most brilliant people. Being an introvert, that's kind of what I saw. And so I had a successful career in the military with the leadership and, of course, the technical aspect. And I knew I wanted to have my own business. My own business was to help people. I just didn't know what it was. I thought it might have been real estate. Tried that for a bit, and it wasn't something that I went in wholeheartedly. And after I separated, I went through periods of different employers, because I was just trying to find that spot for myself and not realizing that I wasn't being who I was or who I wanted to be. So I had my periods of, I've been married, been divorced, had periods of depression, unemployment, dealt with cancer, you know, all the negative stuff. And it wasn't until I decided to say, you know what I'm doing, how I'm doing it isn't working for me. So I need a coach, I need a mentor. That's when my mentor found me. And so they introduced me to teachings about Proctor. And the answers to the questions I was looking for is like, why do people do this? Why do people do that? That's where I found the answers. Because he taught, you know, how does the mind work? And as I come to read and study, and the mind is an activity. Nobody's ever seen the mind. So here they have doctors trying to fix something that they don't know what it looks like. So like an electrician, if you want to troubleshoot a circuit, you have to look at a schematic. It just gives a basic functioning of circuits from start to finish. You look at the wiring diagram or you look in the panel, you just see a mess. But you put in a schematic, you line it out, from the source to the end, you understand it, and then you can troubleshoot and you can fix it. So that's kind of what it is, just get an understanding of who you are as an individual. Take the time to read and study. I mean, that really helps a lot. The Bible, a lot of the stuff that I read is rooted into the Bible. And the Bible is very straightforward if you look at it superficially, especially like Romans 12:2. If you know which version, it says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." Ephesians chapter 4 says, "Take off the old man, put on the new in the spirit of your mind." Proverbs 4:23 says, "Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it spring the issues of life." Your heart being your subconscious mind. And then Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." So what you see and think about yourself, I mean, that's kind of how your life is going to be. It's all about the mind. It revolves around the mind.
Mike, I just want to jump in real quick, because in this first couple of minutes of you talking, there's so much to digest because, just looking at the schematic and you when you turn around, just some keywords that you said when, with post-traumatic stress and what you do, we all look into the mirror and we see ourselves as a mess, right?
Right.
That our wiring is all messed up but if we just look at the schematic within ourselves, we can rewire ourselves to start firing, properly. And then back, in the beginning of your conversation, you said even with your journey, you tried so many things before you found yourself. And this is the word out to many of the law enforcement out there. We jump from couch to couch to couch, from therapy program to therapy program to therapy program, and we get frustrated. And that's where we can't stop. We got to find the one that works for us, that one that fits us. So, I'm really relating to everything you're saying, Mike, and it really holds true. And when you look at an electrical outlet, how many times you've been shocked, right? Right. But now you know. To take your time, to watch things for certain things. So those are like your triggers. So, man, you're resonating really well with me right now.
That's awesome. If you're listening, we are talking with PGI consultant and performance coach Michael Chavez. We got to take our first break. We will be right back.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical Bill of Rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to the award-winning Badge of Honor podcast with Michael Chavez, PGI consultant. Man, we're hitting a lot of stuff, how things cross-connect with post-traumatic stress and building through a life coach and building through mentors, how you can get your life back on track. Because a lot of us feel unwired or just a mess when we look at the box or that mirror that we see. But we are all fixable. We are human beings, and we're resilient enough that we can make that change. But it takes a little bit of work on our part to make that happen. Right or wrong, Mike?
You're absolutely right. You think about it, all the people that you hear, I can give just a whole list, but you think of people who dealt with addictions, drug addiction, alcohol, pornography, whatever. They had to hit a rock bottom, but it wasn't until they made the decision that they weren't going to live their life that way, and they sought the help, and then they did the work to change their life. Nobody can do it for them. Nobody can do it for you. I had to do the work for myself, right? Imagine going to the gym to work out. If you want to be in good physical condition, you have to get off the sofa and you have to go to the gym.
That's what I'm doing wrong. See, that's what I'm doing wrong. See,
He's not getting off the
I'm
sofa.
not getting off the sofa. That's where my problem. You fixed it. Now I'm all good.
Okay, great. But and the same with mental health, and nobody taught us. I mean, you go to school, they don't teach you anything. They teach you how to remember things and then regurgitate it, right? And if you get good grades, you're a good student. That's not true. What did you learn during that process, right? And when they talk about health, most people are just focused on the physical health. But as I've come to learn through study, is that there are 3 or 4 different areas, and depending on which philosophy you go to, you have your mental health, your spiritual health, and your physical health. And when you look at the Bible, and of course the studying, it's like we're spiritual beings, we have an intellect, and we live in a physical body. So you have the 3 pillars right there. So when you take care of all 3 of them, well, then you have a well-balanced health regimen. Take the time to read, study, turn off the television, stop watching the news. They only tell you 2% that's true. And anything they tell you. Spiritual isn't just so much going to church. That's just a religion. Spiritual is something more in depth, and spiritual is all encompassing. So when you look at the spiritual health and your mental health and your physical health, they all work together to have a strong, healthy body. And of course, as kids growing up, especially men are not supposed to cry. Men are supposed to be tough. So you have that shell. And so if you cry, well, you're a big sissy. And that's what some people come to believe. Women are supposed to be docile and everything like that. Women are stronger than men. And I've seen it firsthand. Mentally,
my ass.
Yeah.
No need to comment on that. I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I got you. So, but, and as I come to learn through my mentors, like when you're vulnerable, that demonstrates strength. Because you have to be strong to say, hey, you know what? I got it wrong. I need help. Because if you're not asking for help and you sit there saying, I'm good, I'm good, you can't carry it all on your own.
You hit the nail on the head right there. And I swear, just listening to you talk, it's like you were sitting in our workshop that we just did on Friday, because, inviting, I will call it the V word, vulnerability. A lot of people look at that word and it's like, yeah, I don't like that word. I'm like, okay, then let's use the word open. The whole point is we have to get to a point where we want the help, but sometimes it takes an outside source like our workshop, Michael, like what you do, where you ask them, what do you want to do with your life? What are your goals? And what are you presently doing to support it? And I'm pretty sure you get the because what you said was key. We are one connected being. So if you're not addressing all of it, it's kind of like putting together a puzzle and you're like, well, we'll just leave those pieces over there. The puzzle isn't going to look so good, as the finished product. So when somebody reaches out to you for assistance, what does it look like in terms of coaching performance with you?
Well, first off, I ask them where they're at. I just want to know where they're at, what they're doing. And I want to know where they're going, or what they think where they want to go. And when I look at the individual, they think, well, a business coach or a personal coach, whatever. When you look at it, you're just one person and going in different directions. So when you take care of this, if you take care of this, then you'll do well in business, you'll do good in your personal life. And so just get an understanding of what they're dealing with, because oftentimes we have our own self-image. If you grow up with criticism as a kid growing up, you're very insecure because you don't know who the hell you are. I listened to a neighbor of mine years ago humiliate their child because they couldn't catch the ball. The kid was only 5 years old, but I never once heard the parents say, hey, this is how you catch the ball. And so the kid was ridiculed. And so that's how a lot of people grow up. So when you get into adulthood, well, you have that inferiority complex already. And so you think you're good, but you're really not. So oftentimes you might go into the military, you might go into law enforcement, something like that. But where are you and who are you as an individual? Right? So just get an idea of where a person is, what's going on. We have a self-image. Am I a strong, confident individual, or am I just, worthless and useless? And it goes back to the Proverbs, how do you see yourself? And you can tell where a person is going by the level of success. Say a person's earning $250,000 a year. They want to earn $1 million. Well, they already have the thermostat set for 250. They have to change it to 1 million in order to get that hump. So it's like, where's your mind? Where's your thinking? And so that's just kind of what I look at. It's like, where's your mind? What are you thinking? In what direction do you want to go? And so that's kind of how I look at the whole big picture is, where are you at? What is your thinking?
Let me ask something with that. Because you brought up a good point with the news, and 2% is true. I want to relate that to the culture and the environment that you are around. Okay, you bring up some great points on that we need to change, but sometimes it takes changing our culture, changing our surroundings, changing, sometimes changing our relationships, our friends, even our neighborhoods, right? Because if like a drug addict, right? He wants to get off drugs, but if we put him back into the drug infested neighborhood, guess what? He is going to fall to those drugs again. It's just
right.
it's just a matter of statistics, right? So with what you're saying, how hard is it for someone to change this way though? Because people are going, I can't do this.
Before you answer that, we're going to come back with that answer. But first, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're watching a Badge of Honor podcast on the OBBM network.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance we'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast, powered by the OBBM network. Man, I want to welcome back Michael Chavez and Sam. We were talking about changing our culture and changing our surroundings to give us a better and healthier lifestyle. Now, Mike, I know we left on a question, but during the break, I started thinking about another question about culture. You did six years on a ship, correct?
Actually, I did. I spent 20 years in the Navy, and I spent 18 out of the 20 years going out to sea, and I served on 4 ships. And so I think a total of 13 years on ships, 13, 14 years on ships.
So you saw a lot of diverse individuals, a lot of type A personalities, a lot of different commanders on each ship. Now,
right.
Bringing that towards like one of the commands of a police department, right? If your command staff is very negative or very down on the crew, you see a change in the entire crew, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So getting to back what we said, your command staff really can set the tone for the culture that of your employment.
Yeah, you definitely can. I had that experience as well. I mean, different crews, when I was doing technical support, you can go to different ships. We all speak the same language, but you can tell that by the energy on the ship of where that command status was. When people are sitting there a bit, backbiting and insulting each other and cussing each other and not working together, you can tell that comes from the leadership or lack thereof. And then you see the culture where everybody's talking together, they're joking, they're laughing, and we're supporting one another. That's a good leader. That's good leadership. And you can see that. And when you take the time to, on a personal level, look at the people you spend the most time with. 5 of the people you spend the most time with. That is who you are. If they're drinking and partying on the weekend, that's what you're going to do. That's your future in 5 years, 10 years. Mm-hmm. But if the people you're hanging out with, talking about starting a business, investing money, how can you improve things, then you know you're in a good crowd, because those are the people who are stimulating your thoughts and stimulating your growth.
So would you say, going back to John's question, if you get people that want to make the change, but then they're like, oh, I can't do that, or they're in an environment, do you recommend that they change their circle first? Or is there like a hierarchy or steps that you take to change your environment? Because to change the way you think, to be open to getting help, going through a therapy program, that's a lot of change.
Well, it starts with the individual. What do you want? If you want to change your life, well, you say, okay, who I'm spending time with, they're not helping me. And you have to be the one making that change. And that's something I experienced as well. I used to scroll social media aimlessly and get involved in superfluous conversations that meant nothing. And it wasn't until I decided to say, you know what, I want to get away from this. I made the decision to change my life, and I started hanging out with people who were positive, who were uplifting, and who encouraged other people. So as the individual themselves, they have to make that decision. There's no other way to do it. And if you sit there and you procrastinate and you say, well, I don't want to lose my friends, well, you're going to be where you're at because of your choice and your decision. And it's your responsibility. So if you want to change, you have to make that decision for yourself. And there's no other answer for that. It's who you want to be and where you want to go.
So do you jump in like completely, like just give yourself over to the whole process? Like when you're discussing performance with somebody, or somebody says, hey, I want to make some transitions in my life. Is it a step-by-step thing, or is it like, hey, we're going to do this, but it's going to take 100%, and you need to, like therapy, you need to you need to have that buy-in, and it has to come from you, right? Because the therapists, they can see as many people that want to be there and want to get well. That's what they're for, but it takes you, jumping in.
Yeah, and you're right. It is going to be a step-by-step process. We all have this little mind, our ego mind, and when you start to change, it doesn't want to change. It's going to try to keep you where it's comfortable, and it's a whole process, because you think, well, the whole world's against me. No, the world's not against you. It's your little mind that's telling you, you don't want to do this because I'm comfortable here with this, group of people. It doesn't want to change. So it is going to be a step-by-step process, and you got to take it one day at a time.
But with that, it just goes back to what your whole thing is about: getting up on the other side of the bed.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
We're so comfortable getting off on that one side, getting off that one side. To move out of our comfort zone and change that dynamic within our life, just getting over on that other side, out of bed on the other side, can change our whole day. Tell us how you came up with that, because I think it's a great analogy.
Well, I was meditating one particular day, and the thought came to me, the other side of the bed, and I was like, that would be a great title for a book. And then I was talking to Susan and about podcasts, and then she asked me, well, what about your podcast? I thought, I got the title right there, The Other Side of the Bed. And when you look at people, what do they normally say? Oh, I hate Mondays. I don't look forward to Mondays. Mondays suck. They don't look forward to going to work. They don't look forward to the start of the work week. You're always saying Monday sucks, and the work week just drags. But come Wednesday, Thursday, like, oh, I'm looking forward to the weekend. Oh, I'm going to have a great time. That's your thinking. You're going to receive majority of the time what you expect. You expect to have a great time on the weekend? You do. You expect to have a crappy week? You will. And it's just like shifting your thinking. Okay, what do I really want? And I learned through Tony Robbins and other people, you start off with gratitude. I have a gratitude journal that I do. It's right here. And I've been doing this for 2 years. And I might have missed 2 or 3 days this year. But you start off writing, what are you grateful for? I'm grateful I woke up. I'm grateful for my bed. I'm grateful for my home. It doesn't have to be anything big and extravagant, just the little things. And then you progress to what you really want. If you want to become financially independent, write it in there. You might not be financially independent, but put that in there because that's what you believe and that's where you believe you want to go. I want to be financially independent. I'm grateful for being financially independent. And it's about what you want. And it goes back to what I said, when you're growing up. Each and every person that I come across is so brilliant and so gifted with talent that unfortunately they believe the lies that people have told them.
Wow, that's a powerful statement. You know what? We're going to continue with that. And I want to talk about that gratitude journal because I've heard about that before. But first, we got to take a quick break. We will be right back with Michael Chavez, PGI consultant and performance coach. Stay tuned, everybody.
Every business needs a dependable junk hauling service to keep their property clutter-free. Call 630-470-8307. Junk Luggers offers a wide range of eco-friendly residential and commercial junk removal services to help your business run smoothly and efficiently. Book your no-obligation estimate with Junk Luggers today. Banks and credit unions have unique junk, and Junk Luggers knows the business. Professional organizers, senior living communities, we're helping everyone clean up and start new. If you're redecorating, remodeling, or getting ready for new tenants, Junk Luggers will donate, recycle, and do our best to keep it out of the landfill. Call 630-470-8307. That's 630-470-8307 today.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our guest, Michael Chavez, PGI consultant. Now, Sam, we left on that gratitude book. You want to ask questions? Gratitude.
Yeah. So I think it's brilliant, and my mind immediately went to the state of law enforcement relationships in this country of all first responders. I think it's fair to say has degraded to a level that we've never seen before. Whatever the reason, whether it's your own personal stuff, whether you've got a chief that is not a good leader, or whether you've got a city council and a mayor that is just destroying the departments. You to say, let's do this gratitude journal thing. How do you influence a first responder that is so at the end of their rope in terms of they're really thinking about walking away from what they thought would be their entire career because they have a heart for service? Well, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that if you feel so strongly that, make the decision. If you don't want to be there, then don't, because if your heart's not into it, it's just, I looked at it for myself when I decided to retire from the military. My heart left. I wasn't having fun. And that's when I decided, it's time for me to go somewhere else. You have to take care of number one, which is you, right? And if you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to take care of your family? And so what is most important to you? You can go and find a different station, a different location, if that's where your heart is.
And that could change everything.
And
yes,
it can.
Changing your environment. Yep. But with a gratitude journal, you have a lot of strong personalities like first responders that would say, I'm not writing in a dumb journal. how would you explain to them that finding the gratitude and doing this journal when they're in that I'm ready to give up and throw away the towel? Why would that be like really important?
But with that, Mike, let me ask something. With a gratitude journal, would you equate that to, like, say, a dream board?
To some extent, I've got my vision board up here, and so what do I want to do? And so you can equate that to both of them. It's like, okay, I'm grateful for my vacation. Maybe you're not taking it yet, but you think about your vacation, and your energy is going to go where your attention goes. So if you're focused on the negative and all the BS, well, then that's where all your energy is going. And it's like, and I was listening to it, it's like, when you touch the stove, you burn yourself and it hurts. And of course, as kids, we're told not to touch the stove. And as kids, well, we have to test it for ourselves.
Right.
And so then it goes into forgiveness. Well, forgiveness is about letting go. It's not about the offense or the person. It's about yourself. Now, if you stay on that offense, well, that's like sticking your hand back in the fire day in, day out, day in, day out. You're causing your own pain. So how do you shift that? Okay, well, what do I want? Be grateful for the small things. Hey, I ended my shift today. I'm going home to my family. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I got to see my kids smile today. I'm grateful for whatever it is. And, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for people you love. That should be the key. Are you doing that for yourself, or are you doing that for the people you love? And that's where your life should be focused on. I had thoughts of suicide as well. 2020, November 2020. I lived by myself. Nobody would find me. But I was thinking about my pets. I got a dog and a cat. I thought, well, what would happen to them if I died? And the one thought that came to my mind is they would probably be euthanized because I made the decision to leave. Well, that's why I stayed and continued to do what I do, because my pets can't make decisions for themselves, and some individual who I don't know will make that decision for them. And so who do you love? What is your reason for being? What is your reason for doing the things you do? And then that's where you put your focus on. And your happiness is your responsibility, but if you want to be loved and feel loved, then you have to focus on something other than yourself. And that's one of the things they talk about. Stop focusing so much on yourself and focus on other people around you. You can find that joy in yourself through somebody else. And so where do you want to put your mind? On the hate and discontent that you're dealing with, or on the things that you find most valuable? And that's kind of how I approach it. It's like, where do you want, what is most important to you?
That's a great point. Finding your relevance or your voice by listening to somebody else's story. And I'm going to throw out kudos to that's great, Michael, what you just said, and kudos to my partner here, John. Some of the feedback from the workshop that we just had, personally thanking him for the stories that he has shared, that creating the connection.
I gotta just charge my computer. It's starting to go down.
the ability to help them heal some of what they are going through because of what John shared. So yeah, it can really being around others and listening to others can help you kind of shift your own thinking.
Right.
And is that another speaking of shifting your thinking, is that something we talked a lot about that so far? Is that something that you specifically work on when somebody says, hey, Michael, I want to contract with you to be a performance coach for me?
Your dogs arguing over there in the background.
Yeah, we love our kids.
Yeah,
our fur kids.
Yeah. Everything is about perspective. When you have a problem, and I use the water faucet as an analogy oftentimes. when you have the faucet on, the water is flowing, right? Imagine that as your mind. When you say I can, that flowing of the water are the ideas and inspirations that come into you. But when you say I can't, well, you turn off the faucet. Well, now you're not going to get any ideas. You're not getting any inspiration. And when you say, well, I used to talk about the person who's earning $250,000 a year, they want to earn $1 million. Well, they say I can't do that. Well, yes, you can, because there are other people who are doing it. And so you help them to shift that thinking that they can do it. And just a 1 degree shift in anybody's thinking, it makes a world of difference. And it's all about perspective. And we use this method when we're trying to come up with a solution to a problem. Is you write the problem on a piece of paper. You put it on the middle of a table or something like that, and you set some chairs around the table. And those chairs represent the people with whom you respect and admire, and who you look to for guidance and probably inspiration. And so you look at it from your perspective. And then you go put yourself in one of those chairs and one of those individuals and look at it from their perspective. I guarantee you'll get the solution to a problem just by doing that, because you're getting a different perspective on one little thing. And
yeah, perspective is key. I mean, I don't have to tell you, Michael, there's books written about, change your perspective, change your brain. It's changing. We all come to situations with a bias, based upon childhood experiences, to how we are trained. And, I think a lot of the misunderstanding as first responders is with the general public is they don't understand the bias that we come with, because we're taught that bias in the academy. And on the flip side, we don't do a good job in the first responder space to talk about how to have better and positive interactions with the community, with the public, and what that truly looks like. We're working on that. And thanks to people like Conrad Weaver for PTSD 911, which gives it's pulling the curtain back on what first responders go through on any given day. That's been very eye-opening for members of the public to understand. And it's like, oh, well, no wonder. So like the next time you see a first responder, thank you goes a long way for a whole bunch of different reasons. But I think the perspective, if you can take a step back and decide to make that change, and it may be just ever so slight.
Oh yeah.
I think that opens the doors to so many possibilities.
I haven't sat in an academy class since the early 90s, So when you talk about perspective, right? The first thing our academy instructors turned around to us and said, 50% of you are going to be divorced within the first 5 years. Already put that into the people's heads as a negative outlay as police work, right? So there's a fine balance when we look at training cops to be safe, to be efficient in their jobs, but also training them to be kind and looking at not everybody as a threat. That's the difficult situation, because either we're going to build a robot that's just going to go out there and do the job and not interact, or we're going to have an officer that can go there and really look at different people.
Look at people for people. Yeah, instead of threats. Yeah.
And I worked in an all black neighborhood in the ghetto in Brooklyn, and I went to like these projects where I would already prejudge somebody before I even got into the projects, right? I would prejudge the apartment that, it's going to be filled with roaches. It's going to be a mess. It's going to stink, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? I surprised myself many times when I walked into those homes, and they were beautiful. They were, and I already had this self perception because of what was being pumped into my head every single day on the job.
Yep. We're talking perspective with a performance coach, Michael Chavez. We got to take a quick break. We will be right back.
All right.
What is the role of American government anyway? Is the role of government to decide where I can go and where I can't? Is the role of government to work tirelessly to destroy vital infrastructure that keeps goods and services from my customers? Is the role of government to choose who can drive, fly, or ride according to mandated stipulations that threaten my body, health, mind, and conscience? Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Your voice, your feet, your vote, not just at the ballot box, but training to be a poll watcher, precinct chair, judge, or early ballot counter, so you are doing all you can to protect the fairly counted American vote. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America, because my voice
And my voice.
together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to the award-winning Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our special guest, Michael Chavez, PGI consultant. Move Freely America. You know, another thing about how they say this, how they're in this commercial about everybody has a voice. Getting to perspective, we start talking like other people from things that we hear. You know, are we truly using our own voices, our own inner thoughts, or are we just mimicking what we hear all day long? I was thinking about that as I heard that commercial. I have a voice, you have a voice. Think about yourself. When you turn around, Michael, and you say, you got to believe in yourself. You got to speak for what you believe in, right?
Right.
You have to have your own voice. We mimic what we see on TV. Politics, we follow, even though we maybe only know 5% of what's going on, right? But we'll portray that in our attitudes, be it Democrat, Republican, whatever it is, right? Or certain issues. It's not really our voices. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I wanted to share this with somebody before. It's like oftentimes we are given our opinion, right? You think about the discrimination, and we talked about earlier, touching about men are supposed to be strong and very rigid and everything like that. Women are vulnerable and docile. That's kind of how we were brought up to think, right? And so oftentimes men are very protective of women because of how we're brought up. And there are many cultures where women are basically, they don't have a voice. And so it's what you're culturally brought up to believe. And you talked about going in there with the preconceived notion in the projects. I've had those notions as well. I come from the bad side of or the poor side of town as well. And I've seen what it looks like with rundown homes and going in there and the house just stinks. And it's sad. And I've even seen it recently too. It's just like, it's all in the mind and just the awareness, right? And when we start looking at people like people, regardless of who they are, that will shift a whole lot of things. I share about with law enforcement. Law enforcement are people just like everybody else. They have families, their mothers, fathers, husbands, uncles, aunts, whatever, just like everybody else. And the only difference is the clothes that they wear and then the field of study. And I find it, I'm going to say it's just very disturbing when I sit there and see somebody come up and being nice to another person. I don't care who you are or what situation. One person's being nice and the other person's just being a jerk. No call for it. They're just being a jerk. And I can't respect that on any level. And I'm very intolerant to that. And so when I see law enforcement trying to do a simple task and just asking questions, and then of course it's all there, you don't have to say this, this, and this. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you just be nice? I've had a couple occasions where the law enforcement came to my house. I answered the door with a gun in my hand. They asked me politely, put it down. I did. I'm still alive to talk about it. Proof positive. If you do what you're asked, there's not going to be a problem. And oftentimes they're there for me. They're not there to harass me. No, oftentimes you hear that, oh, they got the wrong address, and that's possible. But it's not like they go out of the way to do it.
But it's the propaganda. It's the propaganda.
Yeah.
It's the constant bombardment of the news media that affects a lot of these, or persuades or puts things into perspective, saying all cops are bad, all cops are bad, all cops are bad, and it sets a lot of people off on that tone. That no matter how calm the interaction is, like you said, they're going to be a jerk. No matter if the officer comes up and says, "Hey, good morning, how you doing? I hope your day's going great. Could I see your license?" F you, just because of the perception and the preconceived notion they already have that was put in there from an outside agency, an outside thing. Right.
And I think we have become over dependent on the information and the sources we get the information from. I don't have television. I do have a television, but it's not connected to anything. I don't have cable. I don't subscribe to anything. If I want to look at it, I'll look at it. If I don't, I don't. Because what value do I have to sit there and all of a sudden hate somebody else because of somebody else's opinion?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're right. We are, I'll say it, sometimes force-fed our opinions. But it's kind of like just going along with what hits us, right? Or instead of pushing back for what is wrong. And I think if we start doing that and taking a step back, we can change perspective, which means we can change ourselves, which means we can change the way we interact with other people. And you take it to the nth degree. Michael, this has been completely enlightening. How do people reach you, in order to take advantage of your personal performance coaching?
Well, my telephone number is, first basic one is 682-365-2078, or michael.chavez8569@gmail.com. Email or telephone, that would be the easiest place. I don't have a website. It takes a lot of my time and energy. It takes a lot of my time and energy. And I prefer talking to people face to face or, over the telephone. And that'd be the easiest way to contact me.
Well, that is great. I think you're our first guest that actually gave, well, no, you're the second guest only that has ever given their telephone number live on the show. So we're so grateful for you there. And Michael, you also have a great LinkedIn page where people can connect with you as well. I think I saw you on over there. And if you are, no matter what your profession is, because the show is all about first responders, how we can create a better environment for ourselves by creating a better self, you want to reach out to Michael, as I call him, Savage Chavez. Don't let his calm demeanor fool you. He really is. He'll get in there and he'll rewire you for the schematic that fits you. He's not trying to change
you'll go from 120 to 220.
Yeah.
222, whatever it takes.
That's exactly true.
Version of you, not somebody else. So that is the key thing. Michael, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the podcast, and wish you all the best. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. It was great being here, and
take care, Mike.
Love seeing you.
All right, take care.
Take care.
It's just
that was so cool.
It was
so
because
cool.
You know what? Now, I mean, I got a different perspective. I love the way he doesn't have a TV, and the reason he can probably give out his phone number is because he doesn't have any bill collectors calling him all the time. So, he probably has all his bills paid. Unlike the rest of us. But I love the way he lives. Just in the moment. It seems like he lives for the day and not worries about anything else. And I wish more people could embrace that. It is a hard lifestyle to get involved in, to change over to, but to live in the moment and not worry about tomorrow, and not because it may not come. It's got to be a great feeling inside. It's got to really uplift you, and to be thankful for everything you see throughout your day.
Yeah. Hey, Thanksgiving's right around the corner. So let this show and what Michael said propel you into gratitude. Start that journal. And remember, you can be grateful for things that your family, the smiles. I love that. Your child's smile. It can be the little things that you keep doing it, and it adds up to something so big that you don't even realize how it changes you. And, just week over week, we have guests that are helping first responders, just like Michael, put together put together you in a way where you can be successful as a first responder, because it's you as a first responder instead of the flipped identity that most of us take on being a first responder. John, the cop, Sam, the Secret Service agent. So we need, Michael grounded us tonight, and it's really flipping. We got to look at us. We are in that career. That career doesn't define us. We define our roles in it. So we thank him so much. And, got to shout out to all the first responders out there keeping us safe. And all of our veterans. It's that Veterans Day on Friday. Thank you to all the veterans who serve, who gave us the freedom to do this show and talk about these subjects every week. John, take us home.
All right. Well, when you brought up the veterans, I have to bring this up, and I forgot to bring it up in the beginning of the show before we end. Our thoughts and prayers go out who we lost yesterday in the Dallas air show accident. Our prayers are with you during these holiday season. And you know what? Our prayers are with you. And I'm gonna end it on that, to remember those six family members that were lost yesterday during the air show.
On Friday. Yes. God bless you all. And remember, check out our website for all of our upcoming events and the Chicago tour, abadgeofhonor.com. Till next week, everybody. It's John and Sam. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBN Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBN Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.